This Hello, hello. Hello to all the people that are here. I guess there's one people, Polyphonica. Hello, Polyphonica. How are you today? This found day. I guess this channel has not yet elevated itself to the glory of the Munchkins, but it's okay. I believe that in time we will do this. You know, I believe that in time we will have total victory over the algorithm and that we will join the Atlantis of the victory. You know what I mean? So I guess we will be talking about Epstein because I have not been talking about Epstein. Do you see? Takeaways from the millions of newly released Epstein files. And it seems Poland wants in on the Epstein action because there is a newly made action group. Poland is forming a investigation into the Epstein files because Polish people have been mentioned in the newly released Epstein. So that's going to be a thing. That's going to be a thing that we're going to be discussing. We're going to be discussing Russia, Ukraine, because of course. Oh yeah, and we're still fundraising. We're still fundraising for the glory of new journalisms. Remember, the more journalisms happen, the better the record. And the record has to be made because people are easy to forget. People forget things easily, and that is sad. I guess those are the two main topics that I want to tackle. Oh yeah, and Russia's apparent, I could not find a lot about it, but apparently Russia is moving towards doing what I've been warning about. I've been warning about it for quite a long time, and now Russia has decided that it will do what it always does. I'll not spoil it. What do I do for a warm up? Because nobody's here yet, apart from Polyphonica. I think Polyphonica is still here. Maybe. I feel like, it is difficult. It is difficult because this brand new channel is starting from the position of zero. When I stream at Lucy Haza, usually there's always somebody on, but this channel has to build that. This channel has to build the rep. It would be nice if there was a solid base on the Discord that I could call upon and it'd be like, yeah, Lucy's coming, so we go. You know? But I guess that's not in the cards for Lucy. Maybe Dr. Jones. Let me see. I'm trying to round up some people. Dr. Jones. Dream. Okay. Where else? Come on. What else? All right. I'm rounding up some people. Okay? I am rounding up some people. Okay? All right. Anybody here? I did not take into consideration the difficulties of streaming politics from a completely new channel. Boom. Wait, maybe I can. Epstein. I guess I'm gathering slop.
Hi.
Who is Luxander? Oh my god. Everybody's getting on the second opinion stuff. Everybody's getting on it.
I wish we would stop.
Oh yeah, should Moldova reunite with Romania TLDR news? I wanted to watch this. So I guess from 2 weeks ago, because this is a topic that is big on this channel. It became big ever since I've seen it succeed. So let us go. Let us go on this joint adventure, please.
Are making great efforts to gain and preserve. At a time when states are making great efforts to gain and preserve their independence, the idea of two existing states unifying into one might feel a bit unusual. Since the end of the Cold War, there have only...
Well, there's been a few. There's been a rumor that Poland and Ukraine would join to form a new country, but there was a disinformation campaign near the beginning of the invasion. But there were some interesting implications that were discussed around that idea. And Moldova and Romania historically have been a single country, so it's more complicated than that. Especially since Moldova, as we know now, it came about in very interesting circumstances revolving the Soviet Union and Russia.
been two instances of countries merging into a single state: the creation of the Republic of Yemen and the reunification of Germany, both which happened around 3 decades ago. However, last Sunday, Moldova's President Maia Sandu said in an interview that if a referendum were held, she would vote in favour of unification with neighbouring Romania, as a way of protecting the EU candidate country from Russian interference.
And there's also the topic of the Prime Minister, was it Prime Minister of Romania, saying the same, just echoing the same sentiment, saying, if Romania had such a referendum, I would also vote yes. So the sentiment is strong on both sides of the aisle when it comes to this topic.
Sandu's not alone in supporting this idea either. Polling suggests that around 1/3 of Romanians and Moldovans are in favour, and in a warm response, an official from Romania's presidential office stated that Bucharest is also open to the possibility. So in this video, we're going to take a look at why some think Moldova and Romania could unite to become one country, and whether unification is at all.
And the language is basically identical, bar some small differences. This part that became Moldova has been ripped up from Romania via the Ribbentrop-Molotov Pact.
All possible. Never miss an episode and always feel in the loop by subscribing and ringing the bell. Let's start with a quick...
I like this channel. It's quite informative, so I would not mind recommending actually subscribing.
History lesson. The region that is today Romania and Moldova was once part of the Principality of Moldavia, formed in the 14th century, which was once part of... The region that is today Romania and Moldova was once part of the Principality of Moldavia, formed in the 14th century, which covered both sides of the Prut River. In 1812, the eastern half of Moldavia, known as Bessarabia, was annexed by the Russian Empire, separating it from the rest of Moldavia. In 1859, Moldavia's remaining western half and Wallachia formed a political union, and in 1881 they created the independent Kingdom of Romania.
Yeah.
After the Russian Empire collapsed during World War I, Bessarabia voted to unite with the Kingdom of Romania in 1918. The Kingdom of Romania also expanded to include Bucovina and Transylvania. Over the next 2 decades, modern-day Moldova and modern-day Romania were officially one country, the Kingdom of Romania.
Yeah.
That was until 1940, when Romania was forced to cede both Bucovina and eastern Moldova to the USSR.
Via the Ribbentrop-Molotov Pact, which specified the USSR getting the Bessarabia, modern territories of Moldova.
Under the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact. By the end of the war, the Kingdom of Romania, which would become just Romania in 1947, had recovered Bucovina, but Moldova was lost to the USSR and became the Moldovan Soviet Socialist Republic. Fearing reunification...
Which, by the way, there was a huge movement by the Soviet Union to create a new Moldovan identity, to decouple it from Romania, to say Romanian people and Moldovan people are different, to change the language. The script was changed to Cyrillic, which was actually undone later by Moldova. Moldova returned to the script that was not Cyrillic. There was a huge effort by the Soviet Union to make sure that Moldova would not want to reunify with Romania.
The USSR actively promoted a separate Moldovan identity,
Yeah.
meaning that according to Soviet census data from the late 20th century, only around 2,000 people in a population of around 4 million identified as Romanians, despite the close cultural overlap. It also meant that even though the Moldovan and Romanian languages were barely distinguishable, Soviet policy declared that the two languages were different, and to emphasize this distinction, Moldovan had to be written in the Cyrillic alphabet.
Yeah.
Since the fall of the USSR, Romania and the newly independent Moldova have had very divergent paths.
But Moldova returned. Moldova threw away the Cyrillic script.
Romania went on to join the EU and NATO in 2004, while Moldova has struggled to break out of Russia's orbit. Moldova only became an EU candidate country.
Hello, Socialix. Hello, Chili boy. We're doing politics, okay? Invite all the nerds to join, to come here, you know, to promote this micro channel, okay? Let's do this, Socialix. Let's make the dream come true. You know? All right, let's continue watching the video. I just wrote in the President Sunday Discord that even though I'm in the network, nobody networks with me, which is sad. Okay. Where are all the cool people that would... All right. Thank you, Zacialix. In return for your kindness, I will continue watching this video that explains why Moldova should reunite with Romania. Or should not. Well, it should. In my opinion, actually, it should. There's a lot of legitimate reasons why it should. Which I find it interesting that Russia keeps insisting that Ukraine and Ukrainian people are not separate from Russia, but decoupled Moldova from Romania and insisted that actually Moldovans are super separate and they have a super separate language. I find this, I don't know, interesting to say the least.
In June 2022 and has struggled to resist Russian interference in its politics and break its economic dependence on Russia, which maintains over 1,000 troops in Transnistria, a breakaway pro-Russian state within Moldova. Moldova also remains one of Europe's poorest countries, with a per capita income of around roughly 1/5 that of Romania. As a result of these economic and geopolitical challenges, some Moldovans view unification as a potential way to ease these pressures. Speaking in an interview last week, President Maia Sandu, who defeated the pro-Russian bloc in last year's parliamentary elections for a second consecutive time and has strongly pushed for Moldova's accession into the EU, made precisely this argument. She said that it is becoming increasingly difficult for a small country like Moldova to survive as a democracy and a sovereign state, and to resist Russia, adding that she would vote in favour of reunification. Sandu's not alone in supporting this idea either. Several Moldovan parties, including the PPDA, which holds 6 seats in parliament, have publicly declared unification to be one of their political goals. According to recent polling, around a third of Moldovans are also keen for unification, although support is considerably lower in Transnistria and the relatively pro-Russian region of Gagauzia. But pragmatism obviously isn't the only reason for unification. The two countries also share cultural and linguistic ties, and since gaining independence from the USSR, the number of people in Moldova declaring themselves to be Romanian or Romanian speakers in Moldova has increased markedly. Excluding Transnistria, roughly 8% of people living in Moldova today identify as Romanian, compared to essentially...
And actually, I've done a... Hello, Incub. You read on, come on. Comment, on, like and comment, like on, not on, on. I think French has a similar sound, by the way. French has similar sound, not on. Like yeah, you know, like bonjour. You know, bonjour. A little bit like like in bonjour. I think. What was I saying about Moldova? Yeah, I actually released on the Lucy Haza channel a video about the reunification of Moldova and Romania. And I will say that is one of the videos that is not only successful, it's one of the most successful videos on my Lucy Haza channel for a few reasons. It has a lot of views, okay, but it has a lot of views in a very unique way that many of the other videos on that channel that have a lot of views don't. Whenever I get a lot of views on the Lucy Haza channel, it's usually because I criticize some dork like Asmongold or Blair White. And there's a lot of hate that I get from the fans. And they generate views, they generate the comments and insult me, etc. But the Moldova video is different. Because in the Moldova video, I actually got a lot of views and a lot of people that engaged with the subject matter of the video. They engaged with the subject of Moldova reunification with Romania, and they gave historical arguments, cultural arguments. They gave information on polling. They actually gave substantial commentary, substantial engagement, which makes the Moldova video unique in that regard. So I'm hoping that the Moldova video will repeat that success on this new channel, that people that like to talk about the reunification of Moldova will come to this channel and leave me similarly interesting engagement on the subject. We will see. I can never tell what videos will succeed or which will not. I got Moldovan and Romanian nationalists arguing in your comments. Yeah, but I'm actually not as I learned about the history of that place. I'm not sure if I'm even against the idea. A lot of people are for that idea, and the separation happened because of the Ribbentrop-Molotov Pact. So, hello. The separation itself of Moldova and Romania happened because of the Ribbentrop-Molotov Pact. And I am, as you may know, I am not a big fan of the Ribbentrop-Molotov Pact for reasons. You know? I feel like it could work. And it would definitely secure Moldova from, it would save Moldova from Russia.
Zero in Soviet times, while the percentage of Moldovans citing Romanian as their mother tongue has essentially doubled since 2004. While in Romania, around 30% of the population also supports unification, although it's less clear what concrete benefits Romania would gain, particularly given the costs of integrating a significantly weaker state. That said, unification would add nearly 1 million working-age Moldovans to Romania's labour force, which could provide a notable economic boost at a time when Romania's population is rapidly declining. For context, Romania's population has fallen from around 23 million in 1990 to just under 19 million today.
Whoa, ouch. That is a sharp drop. That is a sharp drop indeed.
Due to emigration of young people to more prosperous EU countries and a persistently low birth rate. However, the way we see it, unification still feels unlikely. For starters,
it feels like a topic that has started, and we'll just have to see what kind of, what will happen with it. I'm actually interested in this. I'm not saying that reunification will just happen, but I do find it interesting that the conversation around the topic is even happening. And I would like to see in which direction it will go. I fear that this will make a West East Germany situation. Not necessarily, because Moldova is much smaller than East Germany, which means that it would be a far lesser strain economically on Romania. Romania is much, much bigger than Moldova. So it's that the proportions are much different. So Romania would not have to pump nearly as much as West Germany had to pump in East Germany to alleviate to the same level.
Feels a bit unnecessary. Moving between the two countries is already pretty easy, and today over 850,000 Moldovans, roughly a third of the entire population, already have Romanian citizenship. This will become even easier if Moldova joins the EU.
I feel like it's a weak argument, the whole it's unnecessary, because Moldova might have trouble joining the European Union because of its problems with Transnistria and Russia and many other things. And Russia, as long as Moldova is a separate entity, a small separate entity, has much more sway in Moldova. I feel like there are arguments that this video is overlooking when it comes to unification. It might still lead to stigmatization of Moldova because of their weaker economy. True, but I do feel like so far from what I've been looking into the subject, it feels to me like the benefits outweigh the negatives.
EU and then Schengen. So given the complexities involved in unification, it might just be easier to keep things as they are. But a more important reason is that Moldova poses a bit of a security threat to Romania, as unification would require Romania taking in up to approximately 250,000 Russians, which some Romanians fear would open the door to significant Russian interference in Romanian politics. On top of that, Romania is both a NATO and EU member, and it doesn't seem likely that either will be keen on accepting Moldova without sorting the elephant in the room first.
Yeah, but it doesn't really matter. That is the thing. Romania is already in the EU and in NATO. So if Romania would take in Moldova, then guess what? Moldova would be part of NATO and the EU because Romania is. NATO would not kick out Romania overtaking in Moldova. The EU would not kick out Romania overtaking in Moldova. So that is a moot point. In fact, the EU and NATO not accepting Moldova over the frozen Transnistria region is only a problem if there's no unification.
Recent conflict in Transnistria. Since winning the election last year,
It was the same discussion with Ukraine, that if Ukraine would join in with Poland and form a new country, Ukraine would automatically be in the European Union overnight without any work.
The EU's government has been working on a plan to reintegrate Transnistria with the help of the US and EU. Although the details of that plan aren't public yet, it will almost certainly centre on the withdrawal of Russian troops from the region. While Russia will undoubtedly not be too happy about this, Moldova does hold some significant leverage here. Transnistria's economic situation has deteriorated rapidly over the past year after Russia decided to halt gas supplies to the region. So Bucharest's promise of stability, security and EU energy assistance could be enough to convince Transnistrian authorities. Whether or not you believe that the new year brings a new you, there's always pressure to find...
Okay, enough. That was a video. So we've discussed this. This is a topic that I keep returning to. I've made one video on it, then I made a second video on it. Now we've watched a video on it. I feel like it's not the last time we are discussing the possible reunification between Romania and Moldova. Could EU member like Hungary try to kick Romania out over this? I'm not too familiar with this. No, they could not. If other EU members could try to kick European Union countries, then Hungary would be a prime candidate to be kicked out itself, okay? Over all the shenanigans that Viktor Orban is doing, that like if it would be just easy to kick out members, then Hungary would have been kicked out a long time ago. And possibly Poland under Law and Justice would have been kicked out as well. It really is not. No, that is not a something. Hungary cannot kick anybody from the European Union. Hungary is the last European Union country that could, that would be able to do so. In fact, all things considered, that it's still being actively punished by the European Union for its many anti-democracy transgressions. Many funds from the European Union towards Hungary are frozen because of the judiciary transgressions, because of how Hungary approaches freedom of the press or lack thereof. But let's be fair, there are a lot of spineless politicians in the EU at the moment, and I wouldn't put it past Hungary to try to make as much chaos as possible. Sure, they would make chaos. They could cause chaos, but they would not be able to cause anybody to be kicked out. Does the EU even have a mechanism for kicking out members? I don't think it does. The European Union does not have a formal mechanism to expel or throw out a member state. So there you go. That's the end of the topic. The EU does not have such a mechanism, as I suspected. as I knew, because I'm a very knowledgeable political streamer. Okay? My knowledge of politics is only overshadowed by my genius. You know? All right. Are you ready? Are you ready to watch some Epstein with me? Are you excited for Epstein? For my opinions on the Epstein files? Which apparently there are millions of new documents that have been released, and J-Rog? Wait, what is J-Rog? JRPG. Listen, I have good taste, first of all. First of all, I have good taste. Second of all, we're now in the politics mode, okay? Now, no RPGs now. Now it's all about Epstein, okay? It is all about Epstein now. And the newly released files. It's been a good few days. And I don't know. I thought that maybe people that watch Lucy Haze would be interested to know what I think on the subject matter of Epstein. Epstein is our main protagonist, and Putin and Epstein are main protagonists of this stream, which should make it a very interesting proposition for everybody who is interested in the world becoming a better place. Trump is mentioned in these files. Elon Musk is mentioned in these files. I think who is also mentioned? Bill Gates is put in the Epstein. Yeah, I think he is. I'm pretty sure that he is. I'm pretty sure that he is there extensively. Everybody's in the... Some Polish people are in the Epstein documents, which is why Poland is actually forming a special investigative unit to look into it. To look into how the Polish people mentioned... J.K. Rowling is... Because Epstein was... I think Epstein was invited to some Harry Potter related event. It's insane. It is insanity that J.K. Rowling is in those files. But you know what? I'm gonna be honest. The fact that J.K. Rowling is in there explains so much. It explains so much. If J.K. Rowling is... Can I put on my conspiracy theory hat for a moment right now? Is it okay if I enter a conspiracy mode? Did you know that at some point at the beginning of the invasion, Vladimir Putin mentioned J.K. Rowling and how J.K. Rowling is being cancelled and therefore Russia needs to invade Ukraine because of degenerate Western values that cancel J.K. Rowling? Do you remember that? That actually happened. That actually genuinely happened. And how does Putin know J.K. Rowling? It feels like, you know. And it would make perfect sense if Putin would know J.K. Rowling through Epstein. That would make perfect bizarre sense if it would turn out, oh yeah, they knew each other because it would make perfect sense, you know, they just met on the island or whatever other event. Yeah, Harry Potter is very popular, but there's a difference between Harry Potter being popular and Putin being up to date on the particulars of J.K. Rowling being cancelled over trans issues, okay? Epstein wanted to pin child abuse on trans people, and that's when J.K. Rowling got all terrify. Yeah, wait, did he? Apparently Epstein is the cause of all the culture wars. All our crappy culture wars are caused by Epstein. That is interesting. Can you link something on it? Can you link something for me that about Epstein wanting to pin child abuse on trans people? Which link? You haven't linked anything. Link it. But you haven't linked. So link it. We'll check it out. Now we're having some engagement on the channel. We must get more people. Okay. Someone on the President Sunday Discord said that I'm already part of the network, but I don't really feel like a part of the network if nobody ever networks. Okay. I invite all the people to network with me. Come network with me. Please. Did you link? That's Alex. Did you link it? No, I don't see a link. Oh, you're not a mod. Hold on. Maybe I cannot mod everybody. Link it on the side chat. Link it on lucyhaza.org/live. lucyhaza.org. Link it on the Lucy Haza. Or link it on Twitch. If 90% of my viewers are all mods, then I will feel embarrassed. Some people have to be not mods, okay? Because it feels like everybody's a mod. If I start having 50 viewers concurrently on every stream, where is it? Which Discord? My Discord? I'm not a mod. Yeah, but many people are. I need more people that are actually viewers and not just mods. Greater Ranges left. They're not interested in politics. Which Discord is the link on? Where did you link it? Oh, there you go. Let's watch. JK John Rowling cancelled according to Vladimir Putin. Interesting. Okay, let's watch it first. And then we're going to be discussing the thing. John Rowling. All right.
They in Japan, they don't even mention who dropped the bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, or they just say it was done by some abstract allies. And the fact that it was the United States who did such an awful slaughter at the end of the war, this fact is not even mentioned. So they just cancelled cynically this truth. They cancelled John Rowling recently, the children's author.
John Rowling.
They in Japan, they don't even mention who.
Also, everybody knows who dropped the bombs, okay? Nobody's trying to hide. Oh, who could have dropped those bombs? Who was it again? Was it Germany? Was it France? Poland dropped the bomb? nobody knows because it's silenced. It's canceled. Nobody knows who dropped. Everybody knows. That is such a stupid argument. Okay? Like the argument, like the whole thing that defined the mentality of Japanese people post World War II. Yeah, nobody knows. Okay? Sure. I'm sorry, but sometimes those kind of propagandistic arguments have to be at least somewhat believable. Not this, not trying to sell the idea that Japanese people do not know who dropped the Hiroshima and Nagasaki bombs, okay? Nobody will buy this crap. It's just as true as Ron Rolling being cancelled recently. Okay, let's go. Let's get into this. Let's get into the meat and potatoes, okay? I've got an article here. Takeaways from the millions of newly released Epstein files. And yes, I'm going to read it as Epstein, okay? Because I am correct. And you are wrong. Okay. I know how to read these surnames correctly. Not Epstein. God, I cannot get over this whole Epstein crap. It's Epstein, okay? It has always been Epstein. It'll always be Epstein. And don't complain that I'm correct.
Are you ready to connect to a perfect
Advertisement. I'm going to have to... I guess I'm going to have to cut out the advertisement when I do the edit.
to reach
Or fake Alec Cal Parker will have
new
to.
heights of happiness, to connect to a journey that's perfect because of you.
Turkish Airlines. Provide Donald Trump with jets.
There are some bits starting to come out, particularly more kind of exchanges involving Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, former Prince Andrew, of course, and his association with Jeffrey Epstein, and indeed Ghislaine Maxwell, who's serving 20 years in prison for her part in Epstein's crimes. We're also seeing some references to the former ambassador to Washington, Peter Mandelson, again, sort of his relationship, which he's expressed regret over a number of times, and indeed over which he lost his job here in Washington when he was a cabinet minister back in 2009. Some Democrats in Congress, one in particular, on the Oversight Committee, who's been looking...
I mean, it feels like everybody's on that list. You know, it feels like everybody has been connected to Epstein somehow all over the world. It feels like this person has had like such immense influence over everybody. But you know what? As much power as influence as Epstein held, in the end, he was... And, well, in the end, he did not end up on top. Okay? And at the end of the day, he ended up in prison and died. So yes, he became too powerful for some people. I suppose that he became inconvenient, considering how many people were involved in his entertainment.
Looking at this, very unhappy with the amount of documents, even though there's huge amounts that are being released. They say a lot's being held back. The Justice Department say what they're holding back is stuff that would infringe people's privacy, medical reports.
Which people's privacy would be infringed? It's just you have to ask at one point. It just feels suspicious in a regular person's ears when you say in a case like this that it would infringe on people's privacy. Like, specify it, okay? If it would infringe of the privacy of people that are unrelated to the case, or are just people that catch strays but are not actually perpetrators, or it would infringe on the privacy of the victims, sure. But I'm not sure if I really care about the infringement of privacy of perpetrators of abuse. So I would really like some clarity and specificity on this topic, on whose privacy exactly would be infringed upon, right? Because depending on the answer, my attitude over the matter will change. Does that make sense?
things like child pornography and images, other distressing images. And indeed, even with those withholdings, you do still have to sort of sign an age verification thing to get into the documents themselves, suggesting there is, adult material in here.
Brilliant commentary. Millions of new files relating to the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein have been released. And I have to say it again. I said it a few times, I'll say it again. Calling Jeffrey Epstein a sex offender kind of, I don't know, I don't think it does justice to the thing that he has done. Like a sex offender feels very... I feel like it does not do justice to the scale and harm that he has committed. By the U.S. Department of Justice, the largest number of documents shared by the government since law mandated their release last year. 3 million pages, 180,000 images, and 2,000 videos were posted publicly on Friday. Serial child rape. Even that does not... I'm going to be serious. I'm going to be honest. Even serial child rapist does not actually fully convey what he was. Because he did not just commit... He didn't just commit the crime himself. He was this hub for countless other abusers and enabled their abuse, like a big chain, like a big service. Okay, he was this baron of child abuse. It would be one thing if he was just a guy that sexually assaulted a bunch of people, a bunch of children, but he did so much more than that. He had a whole industry of enabling countless people to do it. And I don't feel like it's being stressed enough in how he is being called. So I guess we could go through the 3 million pages on stream, 2,000 videos and all that. I guess we could go through all the whole material, even though it would probably destroy this channel. The release came 6 weeks after the department missed a deadline signed into law by US President Donald Trump that mandated all Epstein-related documents be shared with the public. I feel like it will backfire on Trump. I feel like that might bite him in the ass. And also Elon Musk. Elon Musk has been very loudly recently talking about the Epstein files. Today's release marks the end of a very comprehensive document identification and review process to ensure transparency to the American people and compliance, Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche said. The files include the details about Jeffrey Epstein's time in prison, including a psychological report and his death while incarcerated, along with investigative records on Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's associate, who was convicted of helping him traffic underage girls. I think there is a suspicion that some Polish people might have cooperated with Epstein in procuring Polish girls. That Polish children were procured for Epstein's little enterprise. He also included emails between Epstein and high-profile figures. Many of the emails and documents go back more than a decade, showcasing Epstein's relationships amid high legal troubles. He was convicted in 2008 in Florida for soliciting sex from a 14-year-old girl after coming to a controversial plea agreement with prosecutors. It is insanity. It is insanity on just how many connections he had with high-tier prosecutors, business people, authors, artists, not just in the US, but all over the world. He's one of the most powerful people. And I assume, and this is just me putting on my little theory hat again, that he just became inconvenient to people. He was too powerful, he knew too much, and he had too many, he had too much on too many people, I think. But that's just, that's just me speculating. I'm not saying that it's fact, but I'm saying that it's a probable cause of his downfall. I don't think he fell because justice was done. I feel like he fell because he was too powerful in the eyes of too many people. He died in August 2019 while in jail facing charges in a sprawling sex trafficking case. Epstein invited the Duke to meet Russian women. The documents shed light on the disgraced financier's close association with Britain's elite, not just Britain's elite. Like he was connected to elites world over, it feels like. They include emails between Epstein and a person named the Duke, believed to be Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, discussing having dinner at Buckingham Palace, where there was lots of privacy. Privacy to do what? Why would they want privacy? Another message from Epstein includes an offer to introduce the Duke to a 26-year-old Russian woman. The emails are signed A with a signature that appears to read HRH, Duke of York KG. They were exchanged in August 2010, 2 years after Epstein pleaded guilty to soliciting a minor. So the whole 26-year-old might be just code speak, for all we know. In the latest file release, there is also a photo that appears to show the former prince kneeling on all fours over a female lying on the ground. There are also emails between Epstein and Mountbatten Windsor dated February 2011, putting more holes in Andrew's assurances that he had cut off any contact with Epstein the previous year. Oh, wow. People are trying to lie about having anything to do with the Lord of Pedophilia. Color me surprised that people would want to pretend that at some point they just had nothing to do with the guy. The emails do not indicate any wrongdoing. The BBC had contacted Andrew, formerly known as the Duke of York, for a response. Mountbatten Windsor has faced years of scrutiny over his past friendship with Epstein. He has repeatedly denied any wrongdoing. Hello, just here to watch a trash fire. How shocking. I know, right? Welcome. This is a political channel, but you know what? Epstein kind of fits the bill of being politics, but it also definitely fits the bill of being trash fire. So I feel like you should make yourself at home. Make yourself at home, trash fire. And also invite your friends, family, and colleagues to this stream, remember, to help make this channel great. You know? It all rests on your shoulders, just here to watch a trash fire. You are my only hope. You're like Obi-Wan Kenobi for Leia, you know? It's all up to you. It's in your hands. Does that make sense? It's in your hands. My future. A name I haven't heard in years. True. Trashfire is a name that you have not heard in years. The BBC has contacted Andrew, formerly known as the Duke of York, for a response. Mountbatten Windsor has faced years of scrutiny over his past friendship with Epstein. He has repeatedly denied any wrongdoing. I mean, I feel like this is pretty redundant. Imagine imagine reading in an outlet something like, okay, X has been reached out by us for a response, and he has affirmed all of the wrongdoing. Okay, he basically just said, yeah, I did all. Yeah, exactly. Whatever I'm being accused of, I did it. Yeah, that was me. I went to Epstein's Island and I did all of the worst things to the kids. And like, of course, he has repeatedly denied all wrongdoing. So, like, I would be pretty shocked if I'd read here, he has repeatedly admitted to all of the wrongdoing. Emails from Sarah, the redhead. Some emails in the latest release appear to be between Epstein and Sarah Ferguson, Andrew's ex-wife. Oh, okay. One email dated 4th of April 2009 was signed, Love Sarah, the redhead. This is so horrible. This feels so unreal. Hello, Felix Alec Carl Parker. Hello. We're exploring Epstein. You know, Epstein and his island and his group of high-profile, powerful people friends that are still in positions of power. Interestingly enough, a lot of those people are still in positions of power, including your favorite president, Donald Trump, who has been mentioned apparently in these documents hundreds of times, which listen, that image capture is meant to take up the entire black screen and is meant to be under it. Well, I cannot. What image capture? You mean this? Well, I'm sorry to say, but you've given me like this? You mean like this? But unfortunately, the camera will not work like this because look, there you go. I cannot do this for camera. I can do this for the browser, but I cannot do it for the camera. Okay. You don't care about WoW. That is so awful. All right, let's continue. You don't care about the camera. All right, let's continue. Let's continue talking about how, listen, what should be spiking your emotions should be Epstein and his friends that are all in positions of power after they've, I don't know, endured, after they have, I don't even know what word to use. The word is, I guess, partook in the island entertainment. The redhead. It says that she was going to be in Palm Beach and wanted to have tea. The email goes on to discuss ideas for Ferguson's company, Mother's Army. The former Duchess of York refers to Epstein as my dear, spectacular, and special friend, Jeffrey. Ugh. My dear, spectacular, and special friend. Jesus Christ almighty. I have to say that is so horrible in hindsight. That sounds so horrible. My special friend. She calls him a legend and says, "I'm so proud of you." Okay. Yeah, I'm so proud of you. Also in 2009, another email exchange shows the then Duchess of York enthusiastically update Epstein on potential opportunities for her business brands and books. "Thank you, Jeffrey, for being the brother I have always wished for." Oh my God. Oh. Yeah, imagine having a brother like Epstein. My goodness. The following year, another email from Sarah to Epstein is overflowing in affection. "You are a legend. I really don't have the words to describe my love, gratitude for your generosity and kindness," she writes. You tell that to the victims. Tell that to the guy's victims. XX, I am at your service. Just marry me. Just marry me, Baron of child abuse. The financier was still under house arrest for his 2008 conviction when the email exchanges were sent. And yeah, the house arrest was for his conviction of soliciting a minor, a 14-year-old. So she already knew that he was a pedo at that point, and she still called him a legend, a brother that she wished she had. To marry her. Marry me, Mr. Pedo. I need it. Okay. Great. That actually changes a lot, the fact that the emails were exchanged after the arrest and conviction. A few years later, in September 2011, there are more messages. The email address is redacted, but they are signed off by Sarah and mention the Duke. Probably. The sender congratulates Epstein on the apparent birth of a child. "Don't know if you're still on this BBM, BlackBerry Messenger, but heard from the Duke that you have had a baby boy," the first email says. "Even though you never kept in touch, I still am here with love, friendship, and congratulations on your baby boy, Sarah XX. A follow-up message is sent to Epstein 8 minutes later. "You have disappeared," the email says. "I did not even know you were having a baby. It was so crystal clear to me that you were only friends with me to get to Andrew, and that really hurt me deeply, more than you will know." Oh, God. The thought of Epstein having a child is yeah, it is actually. It is actually pretty worrying, all things considered. And people trying so desperately and pathetically to be his close friends, that's really disturbing, okay? It has never been publicly confirmed that Epstein had children. There are hundreds of mentions of Richard Branson, the British founder of Virgin Group, in the files. In an email exchange from 2013, Branson appears to tell Epstein that it was really nice seeing him, adding, "Anytime you're in the area, would love to see you, as long as you bring your harem." Yeah. Virgin Group clarified that harem referred to 3 adult members of Epstein's team, adding, "Any contact Richard and Joan Branson had with Epstein took place on only a few occasions more than 12 years ago and was limited to group or business settings such as a charity tennis event." Yeah. Bring your harem. Yeah, when we said harem, we actually meant a chorus of I don't know, a religious chorus team, a band, a Christian band. Yeah, a Christian band called the Harem. Charity tennis event. Yeah, we're playing doubles. Other foreign figures were named as well, including the National Security Advisor to Slovakia's Prime. Holy shit, literally everybody's on that list. Everybody's from all over the world is on that horrible, horrible list. I cannot. Security Advisor to Slovakia's Prime Minister, Miroslav Lajčák. He resigned after text messages between him and Epstein came to light in the files, including from 2018, when the two lightheartedly discussed women and a forthcoming meeting with Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov. Holy shit, everybody's in on it. No matter what country, there's probably gonna be some higher up that had something to do with Epstein. He had his little tentacles everywhere, without exception, including Poland, by the way. After Epstein sent an image which cannot be seen in the record, Lajčák replies, "Why don't you invite me for these games? I would like the MI girl." I would take the MI girl? Wait, hold on. After Epstein sent an image which cannot be seen in the record, Lajčák replies, "Why don't you invite me for these games? I would take the MI girl." What is the MI girl? Being featured in the files is not an indication of any wrongdoing. I don't know. The being part of games and taking the MI girl, that sounds sus. Lajčák initially denied discussing women with Epstein when the files were released on Friday. According to Slovak media, he later reportedly said he had decided to resign to avoid damaging Slovakian Prime Minister Robert Fico politically. Oh my god, I wish this would actually damage Robert Fico politically. Holy moly, that would be like a dream. One of the worst prime minister for Slovakia. Ah, god, I wish that would damage him. That would be... Because Fico is a horrible, horrible prime minister. Epstein paid money into accounts linked to Mandelson. Epstein made $75,000, which is 55,000 pounds apparently, of payments to accounts connected to Lord Mandelson. Bank statements released in the file suggest between 2003 and 2004, Epstein appears to have sent 3 separate 25,000 payments referencing Lord Mandelson. Lord Mandelson said he had no record of or recollection of receiving the sums and did not know whether the documents were authentic. Yeah, I don't have any recollections of those documented payments. I never knew. I never realized that I received this money. In another batch of emails, Lord Mandelson asks to stay at one of Epstein's properties. The emails are from 16th June 2009, when Epstein was serving a prison sentence for soliciting prostitution from someone under the age of 18. Yeah, I wonder what Mr. Mandelson wanted to do at one of those properties. Probably play chess. For much of his sentence, Epstein was allowed to work from his office during the day and return to jail each night. What the fuck? You know what? I guess that is what it is when you are a billionaire, a multi-billionaire, when you're one of the most powerful people in the world. It just works like that for you. You can just do whatever during the day and you just return to your cell for the night. Imagine being a regular person. Hey, I work at a grocery store, so can I just go work for the grocery store every single day and just return to prison at night? Can I just live my life normally during the day and only spend the nights in my What exactly is the point of being in prison at that point? I ask. It's just, I guess justice is not blind and equal for everybody, huh? In December 2024, Lord Mandelson was appointed as the UK's ambassador to the US, but was sacked less than a year later when it emerged that he had sent supportive messages to Epstein following the conviction. After the latest release of files, Lord Mandelson resigned his membership of the Labour Party, saying he did not want to cause further embarrassment. Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer said he should not be a member of the House of Lords and has ordered an urgent investigation into Peter Mandelson's contact with Epstein. Poland is doing the same. Poland is also investigating links of certain Polish people to Epstein. Lord Mandelson has repeatedly said he regrets his past friendship with Epstein. Yeah, of course. Of course, everybody's gonna regret that friendship now that he has been caught. Like, this is so pathetic. Oh, my dear friend has been outed as the biggest pedophile in the history of the world. Well, you know what? I kind of sort of regret it now. I regret all the emails that I've sent. I regret all the nice words that I exchanged with the person. I regret visiting his property several times. I regret receiving disgusting amounts of money from him. You know, now that he's in prison, I regret it. Sure. You did 0.5 gram of weed? 100-year sentence. Epstein was a prolific predator. Of course he could work during the day. Like that is so... That actually makes me really angry. That all you have to do is be powerful enough, rich enough, and suddenly the law does not apply to you. Not really. Not in the way that it applies to regular citizens, to regular pleb. Okay? If you're a regular pleb, then you just... In the United States, you just stop being a citizen and you can no longer vote. If you're Epstein, during the day, you just, life is business as usual during the day. You just need to report at night to your cell, which probably is a luxurious cell. I really want to know now how Epstein's cell actually looked like. Like, are there photos? Are there any pictures? I want to know, actually. Because I want to know how billionaires, how the most powerful are treated. How did Epstein's prison cell look like? I want to know. Is there a picture? Is that his cell? I guess it's far less luxurious than I thought. Which I am a bit surprised. This is his cell? Interesting. It already is outrageous enough to me that he was able to work during the day, by the way. That already I find to be just ridiculous. That he was just able to work during the day and just return to jail at night. Where is it? Yeah. I find it ridiculous that people, after conviction, after he was sentenced, now all the people would come out and say, I regret my friendship with Epstein. It was a mistake. I just stumbled onto all those pedo parties and I felt the peer pressure and I had to, abuse children. He has said he never saw any wrongdoing while with Epstein and fell for his lies. Yeah, everybody's gonna say that suddenly. Everybody is going to say they were also manipulated by the mastermind Epstein. He was such a good liar. All those times when I abused children on the island, I thought they were adults. Mr. Epstein told me that I was engaging in sexual behavior with adults. But are you telling me they were minors? Are you telling me they were children? No way. No way. I was lied to. Trump mentioned hundreds of times. The US president is mentioned hundreds of times in the newly released files. Trump had a friendship with Epstein, but he says it soured many years ago and has denied any knowledge of his sex crimes. Sure. Again, what would surprise me more is that if people came out and say, oh yeah, we knew everything actually, and we admit to all the wrongdoing, of course. We were complicit, explicit, and we loved every second of it. Okay? We loved every second of it, and we're scumbags. Take us away. Among the new documents is a list compiled by the FBI last year of allegations made against Trump by callers to its National Threat Operation Center tip line. Many of these appear to be based on unverified tips received by the agency and were made without supporting evidence. The list includes numerous allegations of sexual abuse made against Trump, Epstein, and other high-profile figures. Trump has consistently denied any wrongdoing in relation to Epstein and has not been accused of any crimes by Epstein's victims. I mean, again, it doesn't matter what people that are accused of doing say, okay? No person would just come out and say, especially in Trump's position, oh yeah, of course, I did all these things. Of course. Nobody would be that stupid. When asked about the latest allegations, both by the White House and Justice Department pointed to a line in a news release accompanying the new batch of files. Some of the documents contain untrue and sensationalist claims against President Trump that were submitted to the FBI right before the 2020 election, the U.S. Justice Department said. To be clear, the claims are unfounded and false, and if they have a shred of credibility, they certainly would have been weaponized against President Trump already. That's not an argument. That is definitely not an argument. The director of the new documentary on First Lady Melania Trump also appeared in a photo embracing a young woman in the files. Oh, of course, everybody's going to be poisoned by this. That documentary is already, in my opinion, some weird bribe scam when a completely worthless, empty documentary has been given such huge finance, such huge financial backing, as if it was the most important documentary in the history of documentary filmmaking. But I digress. I'm not going to be talking about the Melania Trump documentary because that's a whole pathetic topic in my opinion. This is so blatant. We're just gonna give $1 billion gazillion for your wife's documentary, your wife's worthless documentary. It's totally not a bribe though. Totally not. Yeah. Brett Ratner, who also directed the Rush Hour films and X-Men, The Last Stand, can be seen sitting on a sofa beside Epstein and two women whose identities have been obscured. I have a perfect trailer here. God, I have the perfect trailer here for you. Okay. Where is it? Where is that trailer? Oh. Where is it? Melanie Trump documentary parody trailer. There's this parody trailer that perfectly encapsulates the nature of this whole crap. Whatever. I'm not talking about the documentary right now. I should not be this. I'm getting distracted. It should be known Brett Ratner fell the U.S. in the wake of numerous Me Too scandals. Yeah, I know. That's actually Brett Ratner's stuff is actually mentioned in that trailer that I wanted to show, but whatever. I'm not, There's no indication of wrongdoing from the files. The BBC has contacted Ratner's representative for comment. It's just such a coincidence that all the people involved in that creepy documentary were some sort of abusers and sex pests, but whatever. We're not talking about the Melania documentary right now and its sketchy funding. Elon Musk asked Epstein when wildest party on his island will be, which is very weird that Elon Musk is now screaming on his platform, oh, it's just so evidence, and all it's so performative and release it all. Elon Musk, that's just... Everybody's jumping into the defense of Elon Musk now. Oh, he just went... When Elon Musk says the wildest party, he just meant, I don't know, a lot of dancing and karaoke and maybe alcohol. He did not mean any minors when he asked Epstein about his wildest parties. He just meant a lot of beer and, I don't know, playing the Diablo 4 on a hardcore server. The documents also include email correspondence between Epstein and tech billionaire Elon Musk. What a surprise. What a surprise. And what a surprise that all of those people around Epstein are so aggressively anti-trans, by the way. Considering that apparently Epstein himself wanted to blame child abuse on trans people. And suddenly all the people that were connected to him in any way come out of the woodwork to launch the biggest transphobic campaign ever. Just, just so you know that it's kind of it. I have this on my mind. Musk, who has not been accused of any wrongdoing in the case, has previously said that Epstein had invited him to his island, but he had declined. Oh yeah, everybody's gonna say that they declined. Everybody's gonna say that they knew nothing. When they asked about parties, the wildest ones, they never had any wrongdoing in mind. It's just, they are all just such innocent lambs that happened to, maintain years of very personal friendship with Epstein without knowing anything somehow. It just, it happens. When you're very close to someone, when you spend a ridiculous amount of time with them and you keep in contact with them all the time, it is natural that you would know nothing about their wrongdoing, of course. The new emails show Musk had discussed traveling there on more than one occasion, including a proposed 2012 trip in which he asked Epstein, what day night will be the wildest party on your island? The emails from November 2012 show Epstein asked how many people Musk would need transporting on a helicopter to the island, and Musk replies that it would only be himself and his then wife, Tallulah Riley. An email from Musk to Epstein on Christmas in 2012 includes Musk inquiring whether the financier had any parties planned because he needs to let loose. I wonder what he means by letting loose. I'm sure it involves no wrongdoing though. I'm sure that when crazy Nazi saluting billionaires want to let loose, there's no wrongdoing involved. I've been working to the edge of sanity this year, and so once my kids head home after Christmas, I really want to hit the party scene in St. Bart's or elsewhere and let loose. He writes, adding that a peaceful island experience is the opposite of what he's wanting. In another batch of emails from the end of 2013, Musk and Epstein discuss a visit to the financier's island and are working on logistics and dates. There is no evidence that Musk ever did end up taking a trip to Epstein's island. Brilliant. I mean, that was the whole idea, right? Like, of course, the whole idea was to cover up any evidence of any of those people doing any wrongdoing. That part's obvious. Musk said in an ex post on Saturday that he was well aware that some email correspondence with Epstein could be misinterpreted and used by dictators to smear my name. Of course. He added, I don't care about that, but what I do care about is that we at least attempt to prosecute those who committed serious crimes with Epstein, especially regarding heinous exploitation of underage girls. I mean, you're still not off the hook. As far as I'm concerned, Elon Musk is a suspect. I'm sorry to say. I don't see a solid alibi for Elon. Especially with the whole asking about the wildest of parties. Maybe I'm just very cynical, but I'm Polish, so for me it's part for the course, being cynical. And of course, we all know what kind of ideology Elon Musk subscribes to. So, Bill Gates dismisses Bye-bye, fake Carl Parker. Bill Gates dismisses lurid claims by Epstein as absurd and false. A spokesperson for Microsoft, co-founder Bill Gates, has responded to lurid allegations contained in the latest Epstein files, including that he caught a sexually transmitted disease, calling them absolutely absurd and completely false. Again, I would be very surprised if the spokesperson for Microsoft would come out and say, oh yeah, Bill just, went to the island and abused a bunch of kids and also caught a sexually transmitted disease. It's true. All of it, like in the Star Wars movie. 2 emails from 18th July 2013 appear to have been drafted by Epstein, but it is unclear if they were ever sent to Gates. Both were sent from Epstein's email account and back to the same account, while no email account associated with Gates is visible and both emails are unsigned. One email is written as a resignation letter from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and complains about having had to procure medicine for Gates to deal with the consequences of sex with Russian girls. Of course. How old were the girls? The other, which begins, Dear Bill, complains about Gates having ended a friendship and makes more claims about Gates having tried to cover up a sexually transmitted infection, including from his then wife Melinda. A spokesperson for Gates told the BBC, these claims from a proven disgruntled liar are absolutely absurd and completely false. They added, the only thing these documents demonstrate is Epstein's frustration that he did not have an ongoing relationship with Gates and the lengths he would go to entrap and defame. I don't know. Maybe. Or maybe both are true. Maybe he was frustrated. Maybe he wanted that ongoing friendship, but maybe he did want to entrap him, but maybe he wanted to do so using real information. That's not mutually exclusive. He could have had real information and he still could have wanted to use them to entrap and defame him. Epstein and Steve Bannon discuss making documentary. Oh boy, about what? What was the documentary supposed to be about? diddling little kids. It's astounding. It's astounding that so many people were caught in the web from so many countries, from so many walks of life. And naturally now they will all do their best to distance themselves. They will all say, no wrongdoing, I did nothing, I discussed nothing. Even when I was, invited to the island, I refused. I never discussed girls with him. And then the files speak for themselves, and suddenly a bunch of people in different countries have to file a resignation because they don't want to risk further embarrassment. Embarrassment should be the last of their worries, by the way. Yeah. The files also contain thousands of messages that appear to be sent between the late convicted sex offender and one of Trump's former top advisors, Steve Bannon, because of course. Well, the pair's relationship is well documented, including the previous files published by the US Department of Justice. The latest release suggests the relationship was close, and they were in frequent contact before Epstein's death in 2019. Bannon, who is not accused of any wrongdoing, did not respond to requests for comments from the BBC. He has previously acknowledged he was making a film about Epstein prior to his death, and reportedly has around 15 hours of footage from that project. I wonder if any of it included talking about him being, the biggest perpetrator of child abuse in history. Possibly. Like, this goes deep. It has a lot of powerful people involved. It's just so many parts to this. I wonder if the documentary involved any of his business venture regarding trafficking children. In a live tapping of his podcast last year, Bannon said, "We're going to release the film, the 5-part series next year, early next year." Many of the text messages released in the latest batch include Bannon's name. Epstein's name is redacted, although the details and subjects discussed, such as the making of a documentary, suggests it is him. Most messages were sent in 2018 and 2019 after Bannon left his role in the first Trump White House. I want to know what kind of documentary was being produced and what it contained. In one text thread dated December 2018, Bannon appears to refer to filming with Epstein and floats the possibility of entering it for a major film. Yeah, one of the biggest sexual abusers in history. Certainly, we need to show the documentary about him in all of the film festivals, all of the major ones. Bannon asks, "Are you ready to actually make this the real way?" Epstein responds, "Dude, I am the real way." Bannon later asks Epstein, "Are you serious about a film?" "Dead serious." Epstein replies that he likes the idea, but adds, "I will defer to you if you think it is counterproductive." I don't know. Maybe there really should be a documentary about Epstein, about how much of an abuser he was. A second text message exchange from April 2019 shows Bannon apparently strategizing with Epstein on how to change the narrative around his past crimes. Oh, okay. First, we need to push back on the lies, then crush the pedo trafficking narrative, then rebuild your image as a philanthropist, Bannon writes in one text. Brilliant. I mean, probably ever since then there have been documentaries on how much of a pedo he was, but we have to push back on the lies. A source close to Epstein, meanwhile, told the BBC's US partner CBS News that the disgraced financier had been planning a public relations campaign aimed at portraying himself in redemptive light before his death. Yeah, you know, I might have facilitated the abuse of a bunch of children, but have you considered how generous of a person I am? Have you considered how much I donated to charity? You should please take this into consideration and realize that I am actually a pretty good guy. Criticism over identification of victims. More advertisement that I will have to edit out.
Some of them are completely devastated by the fact that the Attorney General, the Department of Justice, was supposed to and indicated that they were redacting victims' names, the survivors' names. And yet, today, with the release of these more than 3 million files, many of the names of my clients who have been Jane Doe for many, many years were in fact published. And this is devastating to them, and we have to deal with that because, you know, they had little or no trust in the government. Now they have no trust in the government because the government has not earned that trust.
Yeah.
And the Assistant Attorney General today, Todd Blanche, in his press conference said that he hopes that the release of the files will bring closure to the victims. This is ridiculous because they have devastated so many of these survivors by publicly releasing their names. At best, it was a sloppy job. At worst, it smacks of a cover-up.
Yep. Gloria Alfred, a women's rights lawyer who has represented many of Epstein's victims, told the BBC that numerous survivors' names had been disclosed in the latest release, including some who had not been previously identified publicly. In some cases, they have a line through their names, but you can still read the names, she said. In other cases, they've shown photos of victims, survivors who have never done a public interview, never given their name publicly. So basically, they have all been doxxed. All the victims have been doxxed, which, well done. Well done disclosing the identities of victims when they did not want to be disclosed. Many of the documents released on Friday include heavy redactions. The law mandates the redactions can only be made to protect victims or information currently under investigation. It also mandates a summary of the redactions made and the legal basis for them. Wait, but the justification for not releasing some of the files was that it breaches privacy, but they had no problems with breaching the privacy of many victims. So what gives? What privacy was being breached by the what privacy would have been breached by the release of the remaining files? I guess I have to ask in the light of this. The Justice Department said it was working around the clock to address any victim concerns, additional redactions, and personally identifiable information, as well as any files that require further redactions under the Act to include images of sexual nature. Alred said that while her legal team was working to inform the department of where further redactions were needed to prevent survivors' identities, many people have already downloaded the files. Yeah, of course. It has been on the internet, so of course people would download and it's already out there. You cannot just redact it back. It's impossible. It is literally impossible to just redact it back once it's been released to the public. Have all the Epstein files now been released? No, there are still files that have not been released. And the reason given is that it would breach privacy. It is uncertain if this is the end of the road for the Epstein documents release saga. Blanche said Friday's drop marks the end of a very comprehensive document in identification and review process, signaling that as far as the US Justice Department is concerned, it's job over. However, Democrats continue to argue that the department has withheld too many documents, possibly around 2.5 million, without proper justification. Jesus Christ. Democratic Congressman Ro Khanna, who spearheaded the Epstein Files Transparency Act alongside Republican Congressman Thomas Massie, said he's wary. Jesus. The DOJ said it identified over 6 million potentially responsive pages, but is releasing only about 3.5 million after review and redactions. This raises questions as to why the rest are being withheld. The DOJ had been under heavy scrutiny after missing the 19th December deadline to release all files as mandated in the Epstein Files Transparency Act, which passed Congress and was signed into law in November. But still, whether this saga is over remains to be seen. Many, including within Trump's base, have long believed there was a conspiracy to protect the rich and powerful who were connected to Epstein. Speaking to ABC on Sunday, Blanche said that apart from a small number of documents that may be released if a judge approves, the DOJ's review of Epstein-related files is over. We'll see. I don't believe it's over. And of course, all people involved will deny everything. They will say that they didn't know, they never went, they never discussed, they are as clear as crystal, and they would never, okay? Even though they were close friends with Epstein for years, he was just such a perfect liar that they did not know a thing. They were none the wiser, innocent little lambs. But now, let's continue this Epstein saga and see how our favorite book author, J.K. Rowling, is involved in all this, because J.K. Rowling is such a lovely individual. You would not believe how lovely she is.
This is my shocked face. So, a certain tweet has...
I'm also shocked. I'm so shocked that you would not be able to believe. This is my shocked face. This is me being shocked. Sincerely shocked. Are you as shocked as I am by this revelation?
crossed my path.
J.K. Rowling's team invited Epstein to a Harry Potter party because, of course, Hogwarts, where magic of child abuse is possible.
And the second that I saw this tweet, I went into research mode. Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. My name is Eddie. I'm a pre-T trans man with a Scottish accent, and today we're going to be talking about Joanne and the files. Now, for legal reasons, you're going to be hearing me say the word alleged throughout this video like about 50 times because I am a trans man who talks about J.K. Rowling, and J.K. Rowling is a multi-million billionaire who sues trans people for talking about J.K. Rowling. So just a couple.
I guess I'm gonna be saying allegedly as well, since I'm a trans person. Okay, that's fine by me. Fine by me.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to present this video with just the things that I have found and what other people are saying. You guys are going to make up your own mind.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I'm sure Joanne is perfectly innocent and there's nothing to be worried about. Joanne is an upstanding citizen that only wants to protect kids, especially girls and women.
Based on what you've seen and what we're hearing And if anything develops further, obviously I will report on that, but this is what we know so far. So it started with this tweet, breaking J.K. Rowling's team invited to a Harry Potter party. And I was like, show me the fucking pictures. So I went and I found them. So far, there are 2 communications of note between J.K. Rowling's team and the man himself. So the first image is an invitation to Harry Potter and the Cursed Child Parts 1 and...
Oh my God. That is, oof. Imagine inviting Epstein to child events. That is damning. That is the most damning thing that you can get. Is a prolific child author.
To Sunday, 22nd of April 2018, and it is for 2 tickets, I believe. There's no names put on this directly. A lot of people could argue that it's just speculation at this point. However, there is another image which I will show you right now here. So this is the first part of this email. There are 2 pages to this. I'll show you the second page in just a second, but there's the name right there. So there's no doubt in anybody's mind that if these are real and from the actual files, that this is J.K. Rowling's team directly inviting him to Harry Potter and the Cursed Child.
The defender of women, children, and all that invited Epstein to a child-related party. You just cannot make this up. Greater Rain says, you know what's crazy to me? Epstein is such a who's who of rich people and seem to shake hands with everyone with power and money and fame. And yet I never heard of the man until the scandal broke, because he was this shadowy baron. He was this shadowy entrepreneur, just basically worked with rich people. Yeah, that's how it goes.
Dinner party on Sunday. There it is up there.
He was immensely powerful. So you gotta ask yourself, what caused his fall from grace?
Pause to read if you want to read the whole thing, but here is that second image. So these 2 go back to back. This one and the previous one that I just showed you before are all part of the same email thread from the files that show that they're asking for, I think it was 2 tickets, and it's for a Harry Potter dinner event and invitations to go and see Harry Potter and the Cursed Child Parts 1 and 2. Now, colour me not surprised.
I mean, you know what? Fitting, okay? Cursed child. Very fitting.
Surprised and 100% disgusted. This is a woman who has been advocating for the protection and the safety of women and very young children now for years. And the year 2018 is really notable because around 2018, it was already out. There were already accusations against this man. It was already known what he was.
In 2018, it was more than accusations. I think the solicitation of the 14-year-old was a conviction, not just an accusation at that point. Querin says, is it too optimistic to hope that what caught up to him was justice and then the subsequent justice, which is shady? I don't think so. I honestly think that he just became too big for his britches and people decided that he was a liability. I think that a lot of powerful people decided that it was a little bit too dangerous to have a person with so many connections roam around. Listen, I can do conspiracy theorizing as well, okay? But I'm not going to say that it's fact. I'm going to say that it's just speculation on my part, but, you know, feels as realistic as anything, right? At this point, without any further evidence.
What he was up to, and yet
I'm not an optimistic person. I'm a very cynical person.
He still seems to support him. Now, I went and found a couple more takes on this. I also went on a deep dive.
Of course, it's all my allegations, okay? This is all allegations on my part. This is all speculation on my part. greater range. But why would shedding light on his existence and crimes be a good idea for other people in power who collaborated with him? Because in that way, in this controlled way that it was done, all of them could just say, oh, we might have kept a long relationship with him and a long contact with him, but you know what? We didn't know. We never talked about him about anything with him. It was all him. It was all him. Get him, officer. It was all him. We had nothing to do with it. We might have been close friends with him for many years, but actually we were none the wiser. He was a master manipulator, and he just lied to all of us without exception. We all fell for his lies, but we never participated in any wrongdoing. That's basically it. It is beneficial to have a scapegoat always. But it's, again, this is all just speculation on my part.
And I found a couple of the tweets that
A
have
fall guy, so to speak.
the direct links to them. So if you click on these, it takes you to the US Department of Justice page. It says here, like, I am not a robot, and you click on it, and are you 18 years old? Yeah, verified. And here they are. These are from the links. It's the same invitation. And then if we go back over, there you go. It takes you directly to these two.
I am going to say that it feels very suspicious that so many people have such close links to this person for so many years, but apparently nobody knew. Not one of them.
2 pages here. So
Not one of them.
The links take you to the images that I've just shown you. I thought that this comment was very apt. Every accusation is her confession. Food for thought, I thought. I thought that this tweet was also very profound. You'd think that the sexual abuse and trafficking of vulnerable girls and young women would be the highest of profile from those shouting to be the representatives of women's safety and women's rights. Instead, silence, not a single post, and I wonder why. And the search results from JK Joanne Rowling,
Wow.
There are none. Dead silence. Absolute silence. So
Yeah, she's too busy demonizing trans people. She doesn't have to. You know, you have to focus. You have to pick your battles, okay? And J.K. Rowling decided that her priority was fighting trans people, the degeneracy of trans people.
it's certainly interesting. It's certainly interesting, that's for sure. I also saw this tweet, not a word from the world's loudest self-styled defender of women's rights about the files revelations. Silence. Instead, the energy goes back into bullying a trans woman online. Again, that tells you exactly what this has always been about. Power, not protection. Obsession, not safety. Noise when it suits and silence when it matters. If she was really, let's break it down. If she really was the defender of women and children's rights, as she says she was, she'd put that cigar down and she'd fucking talk about this, but she doesn't. Now, I went to see what other people had to say about this, and I did find one TikTok from my mutual.
Great. I just think it would make more sense to off him and scour his person the property to Epstein's so-called Bible and just burn it and try to do some cover. Yeah, but first of all, there is suspicion that he was offed. You know, the whole suicide thing has very shady circumstances surrounding it. So arguably he was offed, allegedly. And second of all, trying to do cover-ups would just create new evidence against the people involved.
Alice. I will link Alice's TikTok.
And also, if they tried burning anything, that would just work against them. It's actually, as you can see, it's much more convenient as it plays out right now.
Down below if you want to get involved in the conversation. Please be fucking polite if you're coming over from me. But this is what Alice had to say, and I thought it was really well presented. So
J.K. Rowling is named in the Epstein files. While most mentions as of yet aren't really relevant, there are two that actually are. One is a personal invitation by J.K. Rowling's team to see the Broadway premiere of her play, including a special private dinner in between the two parts. This was done at Jeffrey's request, wanted him and a guest of his to be able to attend. This was a personal invitation from J.K. Rowling's team, which means that it most likely wasn't done without Joanne's prior approval. We're talking about the Broadway premiere of her kids' play of Harry Potter and the Cursed Child here. The other relevant piece in the Epstein files is actually an email.
The Departments of Justice. You can read them at the Department of Justice. Millions of documents, thousands of videos. I think it's like a long, it's a bit of a big read.
Asking Jeffrey to personally introduce them to J.K. Rowling, seemingly pointing to a personal relationship that is more than casual between Epstein and J.K. Rowling.
What a shocker. What a shocker that J.K. Rowling had more than a casual relationship with Epstein. He had more than a casual relationship with everybody, it seems. Like he was an immensely powerful person. It's worth remembering.
She knew Jeffrey as well as his trafficking remains to be seen, though I would argue that having your team extend a personal invitation to your Broadway premiere means that you most likely know him very well. And this was in 2018. Might I remind you that at that point, Epstein had had multiple criminal investigations that happened, starting all the way back in 2005 with also a criminal conviction in 2008. Not to mention
the 14-year-old kid. Soliciting a 14-year-old. That was a conviction. So at that point, anybody that stayed in touch with him basically endorsed the thing, in my eye.
Also Eva Cordero's very public accusation in 2009 and Virginia Giuffre's accusation in 2011. So at this point, he was a very well-known predator. And J.K. Rowling seemed to have a very personal relationship with Jeffrey despite...
Yeah, and invited him to the Cursed Child thing, which is very ironic. Ironic title, I would say.
All of this. But it should be pointed out as well that in 2018, it's not long before J.K. Rowling started publicly pushing transphobia into the public sphere, something that benefited both Epstein and J.K. Rowling to scapegoat trans people instead of owning up to the predatory behavior of cis men. But are we surprised given that currently the predator Andrew is currently getting VIP visits to the set of the series for Harry Potter, being very near children in this moment, despite him having had such a close relationship with Epstein? But are we also surprised with J.K. Rowling, who called Lolita a great love story? So much for that defender of women and girls, right?
So Prince Andrew is being invited to the set of Harry Potter. Please check in on those kids. Don't blame the kids. The kids have done nothing wrong. It's not the kids' fault. Please check in on those kids. If people like Prince Andrew are allowed on set, please, I beg, check in on those kids. Now, for legal reasons, all of this is alleged. We have
What happened to my computer? J.K. Rowling called Lolita a love story, by the way.
that all of this is...
Oh, well, that explains a lot, actually. Yeah, that tracks. Okay. That definitely tracks that she'd do that.
alleged.
Maybe she watched it together with Jeffrey, her close friend.
But an awful lot of stuff is definitely coming out, and if it proves to be all true, it just goes to show that an awful lot of accusations are just self-confessions. Trans people are being used as a scapegoat. Now,
Yeah, apparently Epstein wanted to do that as well.
See a very disturbing email, a very disturbing correspondence in the files regarding trans people, where I'm not going to show it right now. I might make a separate video about it. Trans people are referred to as a fetish. That's what we are to these people. That's what we have always been to these people. We are a fetish. We are a scapegoat.
That does not surprise me in the slightest, considering just how popular that tag trans is on porn sites. Trans people are being seen as a fetish, yeah. There's no surprise there.
And a fetish. If people are looking at us, they're looking away from them. That's what we are. We are a little red cape dangled in front of the masses to make them pissed off at us so that they can do what they're doing, shall we say. But I have seen it. And if you want me to talk about it, let me know in the comments down below. I have to be very careful with how I talk about this, because this is not stuff, as you can see, like I haven't put like any comedic spin on this. This is a very serious topic. This is something that is very, very serious and needs to be treated and taken seriously. And there's like the horrors of what has happened and what has been going on, and then the
horrors are one thing, but the scale, God, the scale of the whole thing, that's even worse. Like this world encapsulating things
of what has happened and what is going on top of the realities that trans people are facing as the scapegoat to these horrors and realities. Like, we're the straw man. We're the ones that are being targeted to take your attention away from the people who are doing this to children. I'm going to need people to like open their eyes just a little bit. I'm going to need people to like actually open their eyes and open their minds and think. If Joanne was such an advocate for the safety and well-being of children specifically, not even just women, but of children, she would be speaking out about this. But no, it's trans topic after trans topic after trans topic after trans topic. Absolutely nothing about the victims that are in these files and nothing about the files themselves. And instead, apparently, allegedly, she was inviting and is inviting her and her team, so like her through affiliation, if not directly, inviting these really dangerous people into an environmental space where children inhabit. Do you
Yeah, I mean,
understand how serious this is? I know you do. If you're following me, I know you do. But for the off person, the off chance that someone who doesn't normally frequent my content comes across this video, do you understand the severity of this situation?
I mean, it's difficult not to understand the severity of being implicated with Epstein, of having alleged very bad ties to Epstein. I think it's difficult not to understand how serious that is.
Trans people are not the threat. Predatory behavior is very much the threat. That this has been allowed to continue, that this has been allowed to happen, that this is something that we are talking about in 2026, that these people are running our governments, that these people are running our industries, that these people have gotten away with it for so long, and then have the audacity to stand up on their 14 million follower platforms and say, but trans people. But I'd love to hear your thoughts and conclusions.
Does not surprise me in the slightest. Not even a little bit.
About it in the comment section down below. Do we have any more information on this that I have missed, that I haven't seen? If I see anything else coming up about this, I will of course report on it. What are your thoughts? And are you surprised? I can guarantee that you're not. And I'd love to hear what you think about all of this in the comment section down below. It's just going to drive me to make more trans positive content. It's just going to drive me to make even more trans joy content. And if you want to see trans people just living their lives in a positive light, then subscribe to the channel. I make trans joy content. I report on stuff like this every so often, but I always try to like countermeasure that with like, if I do this one week, next week we go hard on the trans joy. Because trans people deserve better. Trans people deserve better. Trans people deserve to just live without...
Would that be a fetish?
People who associate with certain people being allowed to dictate how their lives are governed. Anyway, I'll catch you guys in the comments. Check out the links in the description.
Well, that's it. That's it for this. There's so much to talk about when it comes to these Epstein files, because he has had so many connections. He was connected to so many people. He has had there's so much correspondence. There is so many of those files. And there is a Polish connection that apparently the Polish government is looking into. Look here, we're not gonna spend a super long time on this, but look at this.
I'd like to address the Polish public and our ministers over emerging trails linked to Poland coming up in the Epstein investigation. We cannot and will not allow any instance of abuse of Polish children by the organizer of this hellish ring, Mr. Epstein, to go.
Yeah, apparently Polish children were kidnapped for Epstein's little abuse.
Unanswered.
It wasn't little, but you know what I mean.
We will spare no effort to protect every Polish victim and bring to justice those responsible. We want the victims to not only see the efforts of the Polish state, including redress should the need arise, but to see those responsible for these.
I guess it makes sense. Those children had to be kidnapped from somewhere, right? And Eastern Europe is considered, I suppose, a place where one could just, without any repercussion, kidnapped victims.
Unspeakable
And abuse
crimes
them.
punished to the full extent of the law. This is one of the reasons why Poland will take a very close look at the case. We have preliminary reports regarding suspects from Krakow who informed Mr. Epstein about having a group of Polish women or girls targeted. There are more trails like these in the investigation, which is why I will request the prosecutor's office and our security services to swiftly and meticulously examine all of the documents linked to the case released to the public. Should the need arise, we will ask the US government to make available still unreleased documents if they pertain to potential Polish victims or contain any additional Polish-linked trails.
That's it. It's just this endless flow of links, endless flow of victims, endless flow of connections, people, emails, videos. And it implicates people from like the resignations of politicians from Slovakia, from no, it's not by a long shot. There's a lot more files. Interestingly enough, even though they have doxed a lot of victims, very suspiciously, a lot of files have not been released because the justification is that it would breach the privacy of some people. And my question is, what people? Whose privacy would be breached? The victims have been doxed in the newest documents. So whose privacy are we talking about? Whose privacy is being defended here? You know, it's a good question, I think. Yeah. All right. Love story. So as you can see, it's just going to be, we're going to see a lot more about this. I don't see this as the end, okay? I don't see this whole thing as ending. And I'm gonna say, as much as this is my speculation, as much as none of this is proven, as much as I do not believe that all of the people mentioned are innocent little lambs that did not know, that never discussed anything, that just were none the wiser. All of those people that had such deep personal friendships with the guy never even suspected anything, never, just, I'm sorry, there's just too many people involved. Just, I don't buy it. I don't buy it. Maybe I'm being a very, well, it's definitely embarrassing. It's definitely an embarrassment for people on high levels of government being involved in child sex trafficking, right? And we're talking about people all over the world. I actually would like certain people to be heard by this. I would like Fico to be heard by this, from Slovakia, but I guess I'm just wishful thinking. I'm wishing for too much. So this is for when it comes to Epstein. That's it from me when it comes to Epstein. I don't buy this idea that everybody, they were all close friends with him, but somehow he was able to invite them regularly to his island, but only for innocent activity exclusively, okay? Only PG, parental guidance. It's all good, okay? None of them were involved with anything, absolutely. I don't buy it. And I don't think anybody should, but, Just as I don't buy that nobody was involved with Epstein stuff, nobody should have believed Putin's lie about not attacking Kyiv for a week, okay? Because Kyiv has been attacked. A residential building has been struck. People have been harmed. I believe people have died. Because of course, Putin's word is meaningless. I have been saying that immediately when I heard Trump say, I gave a personal request to Vladimir Putin. It was my personal request. He said that he would not attack Kyiv and a few other cities for a whole week because of the horrible cold that is in Ukraine, the lack of heating, etc., because how people struggle with the cold. Putin gave me his personal word that he would not attack Kyiv. What happens 3 days later? Russia is attacking Kyiv with all that it has, because of course, Donald Trump is a president that has promised to end this conflict in 24 hours. He's the president that says that he has, unlike Joe Biden, unlike any other president in history of the United States, he has created an international situation where the United States is once again respected. He says that a lot. He says that everybody now respects him, especially Russia, especially China, especially India. He thinks that his personal relationships are more important than actual diplomacy. He thinks that through his personal friendships, personal dealings, he can accomplish more than seasoned negotiators, than people that have actual experience in international relations and how states operate and how politics work. He thinks that he can have a nice, friendly phone call and that he can secure a ceasefire or at least a city not being attacked for a week. He thinks that Vladimir Putin respects him so much that he would never dare break his word to his good friend Trump. Well, apparently that's not so. That's not the case. That is not the case because Russia, of course, does not care about Trump. Russia, and especially Vladimir Putin, does not care about his promises to him. All he cares about is pushing forward and getting from this war what he wants to achieve. And what he wants to achieve is the revival of Russia as a global power with Ukraine under its thumb. That is what he wants. And to that end, he does not care in the slightest about what personally Trump would like him to do this week, that week, or the week after that. He does not care. He will do what he wants. And we will just have to see what Trump's response to it will be, because I have a fear that, once again, Trump is all bark and no bite. Recently, he has been talking about an amazing deal with India that would end in Russia retreating from the conflict. I'm talking about the deal with India that would reduce or even cut completely India purchasing Russian energy, which we will see how much India respects Trump. We will see just how this will pan out, if India will actually go along with it and reduce its purchase of Russian energy to zero. Because as much as that would be actually a blow to Russian war economy, whenever Trump says that he will do something, whenever Trump says that something's close to being finalized, whenever he says that he has gotten a personal promise that this or that would happen, transpire, I have zero faith in it. Because Trump, as president, opposite to what many would like you to believe, has zero credibility, especially when it comes to international affairs, especially when it comes to diplomacy, especially when it comes to this particular war. Trump just has no credibility. So as much as I did not trust the promise made by Vladimir Putin, I do not trust this deal on face value. I would really need to see details of that deal, the parameters of this deal, the enforcement mechanisms for this deal, the most important thing. And we will see what will come of that deal. We know now that Vladimir Putin broke the promise that he has given. Ukraine is not getting a 1-week break from Russian violence. And I suppose we will have to see. Allegedly, I have heard rumors, I have seen reports of Russia trying to approach the United States with a deal which would say, maybe let's forget about Ukraine and let's do business directly on rare earth minerals, which, by the way, in my opinion, that is the main reason why Trump wants to end the conflict in the first place, because he wants to normalize relations with Russia, and he wants to excavate and refine rare earth minerals together using American companies at a great profit. And apparently now Russia says maybe we could just go ahead with that without necessarily focusing on the conflict. We could do it as parallel. We could completely normalize relations between our countries and start doing business, which, by the way, would be a disaster for Ukraine, and by extension, that could be a disaster for Europe if Trump actually decided to do the unthinkable and to start doing business with Russia during this conflict. Mm. Mm. Ay, you know? Ay. This is all a mess. I wanna check if there's any confirmation to the Russia proposes rare normalization of relations and rare earth deal during war. Here you go. As of early 2026. Here we go. There is rare earth deals, and it's amidst the ongoing war. So, if this would be done during the war, that would be disaster. Russia proposes measures to restore Moscow-Washington relations. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Russian Federation said that Washington had been handed proposals to overcome serious barriers on the full path to a full-fledged improvement of bilateral relations between Moscow and Washington. The information was announced during a press conference of the head of the ministry, Sergei Lavrov, summarizing the work of Russian diplomacy in 2025. The ministry emphasizes that the priority is to move on to truly significant issues, in particular restoring direct air links and returning confiscated Russian diplomatic property, like frozen assets. Normalization of relations, prospects for both sides. They assured that if the United States pursues restoring dialogue with the Russian Federation, favorable and promising horizons of cooperation with Russia will open up for Americans. In other words, forget Ukraine, throw Ukraine under the bus. We can do really good business together. You will profit, we will profit. Who cares about Ukraine? That is my read on this. We would welcome the success of Russian-American normalization, of course, provided that this process continues to develop on an equal and mutually respectful basis. Among the areas are energy resources, critically important minerals, and rare earth elements, as well as joint work in the Arctic. And I believe Russia has 10% of all rare earth minerals deposits, which Russia could try to leverage as saying we could be a counterbalance to China to some extent. Artificial intelligence and space exploration. As claimed, these topics became priorities of the Donald Trump administration. The ministry also noted that in Washington, not everyone supports the process of healing relations between the two countries that began last year, and that influential forces are trying to block this. They also mentioned the US Treasury sanctions against the oil companies Lukoil and Rosneft, which for the Kremlin have become an unforeseen episode in the bilateral dialogue. Back in March 2025, within the team of US President Donald Trump, there were statements about a desire to reboot the relations between Washington and Moscow. Yeah, the sentiment that Trump definitely supports. In August of last year, the White House leader met with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Anchorage, Alaska, where during the talks they touched on the topic of Russian war against Ukraine. The discussions reportedly spoke of good relations between the countries and productive negotiations, but no concrete agreements were disclosed. So that is what I'm afraid of, that Russia is pushing towards a cooperation between, economic cooperation between the United States and Russia during the conflict. And I honestly cannot 100% predict just how the United States will react to such a thing, especially since Trump has stated that because he has not been given the Nobel Peace Prize, peace is no longer his number one priority. So there is always a possibility under Donald Trump that the United States may choose to retreat from peace talks altogether and seek business opportunities with Russia. I don't think that probability is high right now, but I also do not think that it is zero. I do not think that the probability of the United States deciding to open economic cooperation with Russia is zero. So, I mean, as Oshalik says, is theater. They're already in cahoots. I mean, being in cahoots and just openly opening business, it's still like the fact that Russia, that the United States under Trump is pretty firmly on Russia's side, that is self-evident. But from that to loosening the sanctions, opening business deals, there's still a huge leap from what we have now to what could be. And while I don't think that that leap will be taken soon, I do not think that the probability is zero, because Trump is fairly unpredictable in many ways. Yeah, I'm not really ending this on a positive note, I'm afraid. I'm afraid I cannot. So, there you go. This has been a very negative political stream so far, but I'm not here to bring joy and cheer. I'm here to say it how it is, I suppose. 3 a.m. I guess we've done a 3-hour political stream. I have touched upon the two subjects that I really wanted to touch upon. I guess I'll continue this tomorrow when we'll talk more about things. Thank you for being here. And I'll see you later. Okay? I will raid you into somebody. Can I raid? Who's live? Can you recommend me someone to raid? I cannot raid from this channel. I keep forgetting that I cannot raid from this channel because it's too small. I'm so used to raiding that I cannot raid. Lucy has that. So yeah. I guess we're taking a little break, and later during the day we're going to do some more slop and gaming on the other channel. And you'll see. Okay? And then we'll do more politics. We have to, we have to get this channel rolling, okay? Recommend, tell people about the split, etc. And of course, I have to work on the new thing, the new documentary thing. That the new thing is going to be a documentary. It's not going to be a single interview anymore. And I certainly hope that everybody here has watched the 2 interviews that are uploaded thus far, okay? I trust that all of you have seen it. Interview number 2 has 66 views. Interview number 1 has 367 views. And we have 46 subscribers. We're growing. All right, I'll see you. It has been lovely. Bye-bye.